Hi, I'm Rashonda. I'm the creator of this YouTube channel as well as the artbyro.com website where you can find over 250 art and drawing tutorials. Again, that's artbyro.com, but first, let's check out this video. This is a tutorial on how to draw a heart with wings. It's a nice little easy drawing, great for beginners. It's kind of a cartoon style. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy working on, follow me on over to the art studio and let's get started on that tutorial. Today I'm going to be drawing a heart with wings. It's a pretty easy drawing. They're a lot of fun. It's kind of a cartoony, cutesy looking type of a drawing. So let's go ahead and get started with that. To draw hearts, what I like to do is, even though hearts are really simple, I still like to do some basic shapes. So for this heart, I want it to be a little bit uneven. So I'm going to draw a couple of circles, this one slightly bigger than this one. And then the center of the heart is going to come down this way and curve a little bit. And then what we can do is use those guides and circles and the line. Those are our guidelines for drawing our heart. And it'll come around down here. I'm going to have this overlap a little bit just to stylize my heart. And then this one will come up here, around this way, and then curve down. And then all that will get erased after we put an outline on here. Darken this up a little bit. And then the next thing is to draw the wings. The wings are not going to be symmetrical. This one I want to come around this way. And we'll make kind of a teardrop sort of a shape over here with this wing. And then it's going to have another layer here that's going to come around. So we can go ahead and start putting some details in on that. So we'll do some individual feathers coming along this way. And then that's just going to come around. Might make this a little bit more narrow that way. And then the bottom, we're going to do the same thing with the feathers. We'll add some feathers on here. Maybe another smaller one over here. And then we can erase some of this if we need to. Or do it, like I said, after we get our outline down. Erase some of this so you can see what I'm doing here. And then for the wing on the other side, this one I want to come up and around this way. It'll be kind of folded a little bit. And then have that come down. Then again, we'll add some little bit of extra details in here for some individual feathers. Have that come down. It's kind of like that. And then maybe add a little bit over here. Just adding some extra feathers to give it a little bit more detail, make it look just a bit more interesting. Okay, so that's it for the sketch. Now we can add an outline. I have my black outlining pen that I'm going to use. You could use a pen, you could use a marker. It doesn't really matter what your preference is. Just use whatever you're comfortable with or whatever you have access to. Sometimes we can't always get the art supplies that we might want to use, so sometimes we have to settle for something else. So just use whatever you prefer or whatever you have is fine. I like using the outlining pens even when I'm doing a thicker, bolder outline. I still like to use the outlining pens, and then I'll just go over it a couple of times to make it a little bit thicker. But you could also use a marker. Again, that's just your own personal preference or whatever you have available to use. And you don't have to use black. I like using black, but of course you could use whatever color you want or have. Could experiment with trying some different colors out and seeing how they look. So then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go back over this again and make it darker. Make a thicker outline. Sometimes I'll do the whole thing. Sometimes I'll just do the outside edges. Or I could do just the heart and have the wings thinner, a thinner outline. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. If you're not sure, then maybe do a few and try different things. That's why I love using artist trading cards, because they're so much quicker because they're smaller. You can experiment and do a few different designs and try some new ideas out, see how they look. So I could do something like that and just leave the heart bold and leave the wings the way they are. Or I could thicken up the wings. I could leave the wings thin on the inside and thicker on the outside. So again, it's just a matter of preference. It's really just about making different decisions and what goes with your style and the look that you're going for. So I'm going to, I think, just thicken up this outside edge a little bit on the wings. And then I think I'll leave the inside as it is. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I will clean up the drawing with a big eraser. I just have this guy that came with a cheap drawing set, and just go over top the whole thing, and I will be back with you when that's finished. Alright, so I have everything outlined. I have it all cleaned up and all the extra lines erased. So now I'm going to go ahead and add some color. I'm going to do this one a little bit different than what I typically would do for a heart. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to it, just to have a little bit of brightness in here, something different. So I'm going to start by putting some yellow down. I'm going to do a little bit of orange. And then go back over the yellow and the orange where they meet and soften that up a little bit. Now it's not going to soften up quite as much as what some of the other colors would, because they're too different from one another, and that's okay. But I also want to have a little bit of yellow up here. This is what I was talking about earlier, about trying different things, experimenting, seeing how it looks. I want to go for that little bit of that tattoo look, the old school, traditional style, whatever you would call it. I don't know. I'm not a tattoo artist by any means, but just that old retro kind of looking tattoo style is what this reminds me of. And they would have these bold colors and yellows and oranges. So I'm going to go for that kind of a look a little bit. And you could research it if you wanted to. You could bring up some images and get a better idea, or you could just go from memory and just come up with your own thing. It doesn't have to be necessarily exactly like what it is that you're getting your inspiration from, but just using it for inspiration. I'll go back over this a little bit. So it's just a matter of going back and forth over these colors to get those transitions a little bit smoother. Then I'll do a little bit of this darker red in a couple places. Add a little bit of a shadow in there. And then again, use the lighter color to soften it up a little bit. That's pretty much the look I'm going for. You're not always going to get the exact effect you're going for every time. You might have to experiment, play around, try some different things. But don't be afraid to go outside of your comfort zone and give something a try and see what it looks like and how it turns out. So now I'm going to add a little bit of gray. So there's not so much white in here. Maybe give it a little bit of a feather look with the lines, making them not as smooth as what I might on some other drawings. And then you can use a darker color if you want, and add a little bit of the darker gray. And again, this is entirely up to you. You should do what works with the look you're going for and whatever your artistic style is. If you don't really know what that is, then I would suggest experimenting a little bit, trying some different things out. Play around with some techniques and ideas and different ways of doing things. And over time, if you haven't developed your own style, you will over time through practice and repetition. But don't be afraid to try out different ideas you might have. And then again, I'll add a little bit more of this darker gray. And then the last thing we can do is add a little bit of white highlights on the heart. And then we need to do something for the background. So I like to use a white jelly roll pen, which looks like this, and that will go right over top of the markers. Just add a little bit of highlights on here, break up this big area color, and then now we are ready to do something for the background. For the background, I picked out a couple different purple colors and a pink. And I'm gonna do, it's kind of like a scribble type background. I've done this before on some other cards, and I like how it looks, but I've never tried it with purple. I usually do it with brown or more neutral colors. So I want to try it with these purples and pinks and see how they look. So I'm still going to go back and forth with the different colors. And we'll check this out and see how it looks. So I'm just going to fill in these little scribbles, going back and forth with the colors. And again, trying to blend the edges a little bit so I don't have real harsh edges. I wasn't sure about the pink, if I wanted the pink in there or if I just wanted to do the purples. So we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working on this. I think I'll do a time lapse and speed this up, and then I'll be back to show you how I finish it up. Okay, so the background's all filled in, and then the last thing I'll do is I'll use a black pen and a white pen, and I'll just make some squiggly lines in the background with the black and then the white. And I'll use the jelly roll pen again for the white. And I'll just fill this in a little bit. And I'm just doing random little marks, some squiggles. You could do dots if you wanted to do dots. You could do straight lines. It doesn't really matter. Just adding in these, they're kind of almost like fibers. They look like fibers almost. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that up, and then I'll be right back as soon as that's done. Okay, so that is it for this drawing. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you feel inspired to do some of your own artwork. And I will see you in the next video. Happy creating! That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and hopefully you feel inspired to create some of your own artwork. And before you go, if you did enjoy the video, please give it a like and also subscribe if you want to get notified of future videos. And I will see you next time. Bye!